Up next, an interview with Shelong Yang, discussing his latest projects, new studio, and his journey throughout the gaming industry.
And welcome back, everybody. And we have our good friend, Shelong Yang. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I have you as a growth manager, a project manager, a producer, game designer, and overall just a cool person.
Well, I don't know about the last one, but yeah, I've jumped around different roles before.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Yeah, thanks again for taking the time to do this interview. And
Of course.
First off, I guess I just want to congratulate you so far on all the progress you've made on your latest game, Spirit Becoming. So yeah, I just kind of want to maybe jump into, just for everyone to kind of get to know you a little bit more, since you and I met many moons ago.
It's been several years.
Yeah, way back at Sony, and we even went to the same school together. But we'll definitely cover that in a little bit. But I guess for those who are just getting familiar with your work, can you provide us a brief timeline of your art career so far?
Yeah, I'm currently a growth manager. So there I'm working on the marketing side. So I do a lot of work with the user acquisition team, the product marketing and managers, the creative team. I also work very closely with the community team, and just kind of making sure that the studio, the company, has a central voice for the mobile side.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So yeah, we were mentioning that, you and I went to the same school at Art Institute of San Francisco, and we both went after our game art and design program. I guess this is also kind of a good refresher for me, because I know we haven't talked about this in a couple of years, but what kind of made you decide to kind of go into that specific major versus any of the other programs that they had available? And I guess overall too, like, what was your overall experience of art school?
Yeah. I think it really started back when I was in high school. I knew I always wanted to get into tech. But, as with any high school kid from a small town, you're like, do I want to get into tech where I have no idea what it's about and my family has no exposure to it? Or do I want to kind of do something safer or something, and kind of go into the health field? So I really pitched that to my parents one night, and I was just like, hey, mom, dad, what do you guys want me to do? Like, you guys want me to go into the medical field, or do you guys want me to go into I said tech at the time, but in my head I knew it was video games.
Yeah.
So I said, you guys want me to go work with computers? And they're like, yeah, we want you to work in computers because that's the future. So from there I was like, okay, cool. Like, I looked into computer science, and I think at the time I had no exposure to programming. I had no idea what it is. Computer science to me sounded really scary. And, I was just like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be stuck in like a cubicle working on a computer. And the idea of creating video games, creating something really beautiful to release was more enticing. And so I started looking into that, and I definitely looked at a few different colleges. I think I looked at the Arts Institute twice or three times or something. I think the first time they had like a $300 application fee, and I was like, I don't have that money.
Yeah.
Especially if I don't know if I'm going to get accepted. So, but yeah, no, eventually came to school here. I honestly wanted to go to games. Animation was cool. Programming sounded cool, but I wanted to go to games. I wanted to work in the game industry. I wanted to be a designer. I wanted to be the person who was like, hey, these things are called Pokemon, and this is what you do with them. And you go there and program, and you go over there and make the art. I wanted to be that guy. And that's my idea of how video games worked at the time. And completely wrong idea. That was not even how an industry works at all. But that was my idea. And so I was like, okay, I want to be that person. I love video games, and now I'm creating video games for a living, and I can't play games the same way anymore.
Right.
Every time I play a game, I'm like, oh, like, why they do that? Oh, they missed a bug.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I get that. Yeah, that was probably a priority C, and it's okay. Just ship it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my thought process now. And So I'm actually really glad that they taught more art side because,
Right.
you know, it allows me to do what I'm able to do now, where I can learn more about programming. I can learn more about algorithms and really work on that side.
Hmm.
But the art side is something that it's really, really difficult. And
Hmm.
I'm glad I like drawing, but you know, it's definitely hard for me. It's one of the harder aspects of what I'm doing. It takes much longer than I think it should. And, you know, like I still have to look up a lot of different tutorials, and I still have to look up a lot of different ways, and, you know, depending on the program I'm using. But, you know, I'm kind of glad that I went to an art school that was
Hmm.
kind of based on 3D art. And maybe it would have helped if there was a little bit more traditional, like
Right.
digital painting, but it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll stick with 3D.
So yeah, I guess we just want to get more into the personal side. So I guess yeah, when you're not developing or playing games,
Right.
what are some of your hobbies? Yeah, when you're not working on anything game related.
Yeah. You know, honestly, I try to do something that's a little different.
Hmm.
I can never really get away from video games, so that's always there.
Yeah.
Um, I've been, you know, I love reading, so I pick up different books. You know, I I guess I can bounce back and forth between different types of genres, but I love reading fantasy books, so that's stuff that I've been reading before and kind of just getting to it. And then recently, I've been reading a lot more like finance and
Mm.
small business books. Kind of reading those, so that kind of keeps me going. Breaks me away from just developing games and drawing, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, my wife can also attest to the fact that I do random crafts. So
Oh, nice.
sometimes I'll be on YouTube or on Facebook, and then I see some DIYs, and they're like, "Hey, I just built a cabinet out of like a filing cabinet." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ooh!" So I'll be like, "Hey, honey, you want to go to Home Depot? You want to go to Lowe's, and you want to go pick up some random stuff?" And
Yeah.
she's always like, "No," but she eventually gives in, and then I'll spend a few weeks in doing stuff, and then I end up not creating anything. It's I actually have a pretty embarrassing story. I had an IKEA bookcase, and it was still pretty good. It's pretty good shape, you know. I decided that I was gonna make it, and you know, IKEA, the furniture is kind of like, I guess it's like plywood, faux wood,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
And so I'm like, oh, you know, it'd be cool if I turned it into like a more a bougie bookcase.
Yeah.
So I went and, you know, picked up all this wood and bought all these things, and I'm like, yeah, you know, in my head I was like, it's gonna look perfect, and then I was like building it, and then I think like 4 weeks went by where I just wasn't working on it, and eventually I kind of just gave up, and I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna happen, and
Yeah.
split it out, you know, on my front yard, and someone came by and picked it up.
Oh,
So
wow.
I have a lot of those stories where I pick up projects and I start for doing projects, and then I eventually give up because it just doesn't turn out the way I plan. You know, like I get it, you know, measure twice, cut once, but no,
Yeah. 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 Cool. So yeah, maybe you want to get a little bit more into details with Spirit Becoming that.
yeah,
If you want to give folks more of a kind of like a kind of like an elevator pitch and what you have going on so far into production.
yeah. So Spirit Becoming is an interactive choose your own adventure
Hmm.
type of game. Um, I It's basically a story about a young man who is placed into a world that seems familiar but not entirely familiar to him,
Mm.
and so he has to navigate this world in order to reach the end. And depending on the choices you make, or depending on the path you take, you can end up in one of four different endings.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm going to keep certain aspects, you know, hidden,
Yeah,
just
of course.
because that's like you know, those are good selling points. But um, you know, you're basically this character, and you have to make a decision on whether or not you should help certain people or ignore certain people. And you know, these decisions will dictate basically how your adventure goes.
Hmm.
Um, there's still a few things that I'm experimenting with. I want to see if I can really make it work, but um, I think one of earlier I mentioned that I had a few setbacks. One of them was a pretty big one where I spent several weeks working on the art, and I had a certain art style in mind, and I wanted that art style. And then I finished it. Like I finally finished all. I think it was like 80 or 90 different backgrounds.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I'm done. Like I don't have to do this again. And then I put into the game, and I'm looking through it, and I have some close family kind of just taking a look, and then we're just like, yeah, the style is just not up to par with what I want it to be. And so I had to kind of like go back to square one and rethink about what I wanted to do. And I haven't, again, I found the art style I wanted. I'm like, okay, I think this is achievable. I think this is something that I can be proud to launch with. I just finished drawing everything by hand, like a few days ago. And then now I'm running into an issue where I can't paint it the way I wanted to paint it. So, problems of an artist. And yeah. So I'm running into that issue right now. On top of, kind of just creating the game and making it, polishing it and fixing bugs and kind of running through the storyline, making sure everything is perfect. But, I have to keep reminding myself that, try not to shoot for perfection and really shoot for progress. I think that's better and in the long run, and it really gives me more time to kind of grow. And, that way, if I release it and it completely bombs, I don't feel so bad and I don't feel like I wasted my entire time.
Yeah.
But if it does well, then I'm like, okay, cool. It's a good surprise there.
Right. Did you also come up with the narrative yourself for this?
I did. Yeah. So it's based off an experience that a subset of this population. So I'm keeping certain key terms,
of course,
private.
Yeah.
So, but it's based off certain experiences that a subset of this population go through, and it definitely inspired by it. It is not in any way like a true to fact recollection of anyone's experience or how it really goes, but it's inspired by these stories, and it basically is my retelling of what could potentially happen to this person if this was to happen. And so it's basically based off like what really happens, but not entirely true. Definitely taking a lot of experiences and really using that to kind of help me go along here. As you mentioned, there's multiple hats I have to wear. And sometimes I'm wearing like two hats at once, and I'm kind of bouncing back and forth doing something. Like I think the other day I was drawing, and I got really bored of that, and I got really tired, and I was like, okay, like my back hurt, my eyes are they're kind of twitching now. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go and just kind of work on the coding side a little bit. So I started doing that a little bit more. Then I was kind of able to come back because it's just kind of breaking away from drawing was enough to kind of refresh my mind and refresh my eyes and come back to it. So. Yeah, it's good. It's good and bad that I'm wearing multiple hats.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I want to be respectful of your time. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Did you have any other plugs or mentions that you wanted to give out before we head out here?
Go check out High and Low, and of course, if you want to, go check out Bubble Bubbles Pop. They won't blow you away. that project is coming. But hey, check it out. And if you have any questions on how they're made, why I decided to do it beyond what you've seen here, definitely hit me up. You can hit me up at shelong@deliastudios.com. And, I promise I will answer. I don't check that email often, but I will answer you. Yeah. And then keep an eye out. I have, as I mentioned, Spirit Coming is hopefully launching at the end of this year, if not early next year, which is also the great thing about working by myself. I don't have to really set deadlines. They help to kind of keep me on track, but I don't really have to answer to anyone about my deadlines. So.
Yeah, that is the best thing of it all.
Right.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll definitely keep an eye out for the game when it comes out, and we'll definitely promote it on our social media channels as well when it does come out.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you again. And we'll talk to you soon.
Cool. Thank you. See ya.
Take care.